It was a weekend like any other, or so I thought. Little did I know, the cancellation of my trip would set off a chain of events that would alter the course of my life forever. Once upon a time, there was a passionate marine biologist named Sloane who, for years, I delved into the mysteries of ocean currents, all the while steering clear of the turbulent emotional storms that brewed within my own life. Once upon a time, my dearest companion Kira, when the news hit that our annual cabin getaway was off at the last minute, my heart sank. I felt a wave of disappointment wash over me. A legacy of 5 years has come to an end. Suddenly, there she was, standing at my doorstep, her mother appearing out of nowhere. Celeste had just wrapped up her divorce after 2 decades. Decades of togetherness. At 48, she was a vision of beauty, a delicate strength, and emanating an aura of an unfiltered truth that sent shivers down my spine. She was adamant that we mustn't let the cabin reservation go to waste, asserting that she required to recall the sensation of inhaling once more. There was a spark in her gaze that captured my heart races, and the walls I've built with such care begin to fall apart. In hindsight, I realize I should have turned it down. I ought to have remained in the comfort of my own space. I immersed myself in knowledge, carefully preserving the protective barrier I had constructed around my emotions. In that moment, I discovered that I was, as we journeyed to that secluded mountain retreat, my best friend's alluring divorced mother by my side. I couldn't shake the feeling that this weekend would challenge every boundary I thought I had, the limit I had ever established. Under the soft glow of the flames, the evening unfolded with laughter and shared secrets, accompanied by the rich taste of wine. On the second night, an unexpected darkness enveloped the surroundings as the power vanished without a trace. In a world where connection was everything, Celeste found herself in a place where her phone lay silent, devoid of any signal. As we nestled close, seeking warmth in the chill of the night, a realization washed over me. This was no mere coincidence. The tempest howling beyond the walls paled in comparison to the turmoil within. On the brink of revelation that will change everything between us, what unfolded next would break apart every belief I held about affection, longing, and the bravery required to face what you desire most head-on. Prepare yourself for an exciting journey, and don't forget to join us for something extraordinary. Surprise tomorrow. The notification sound sliced through the stillness of my apartment, sharp and sudden. I gazed at my phone screen, absorbing Kira's text for the 3rd time, hoping the words might magically shift into something new. They found a way to transform the situation into something more manageable. My apologies, darling. There's been an urgent matter at work. Alas, the cabin trip is not meant to be. A rain check it is. My duffel bag, filled and ready, stands vigil by the door, waiting for a journey that will have to wait a little longer. It taunted me with its bright, unwavering hope. The cabin keys chilled my hand, their heaviness becoming too much to bear. 5 years of cherished moments, and just like that, it all vanished with a single message. It was a message that lingered in the air, a whisper of inevitability. Deep down, I should have seen it coming. After all, it seemed like people always had something more to say, something more to reveal, more significant than my own existence, something that overshadowed the plans we had so meticulously crafted. I approached my kitchen window and gazed out. In the midst of the Seattle drizzle, I found myself captivated by the raindrops as they meandered down the glass, creating their own little stories. At 28, I had crafted something that many could only dream of. In the journey of life, I found my path illuminated by the wonders of the ocean. My exploration of ocean current patterns led me to a place of honor in the realm of marine biology, where my efforts were acknowledged and celebrated. In my cozy flat close to the university, the air was thick with the scent of old books and intriguing specimens, while a comforting silence wrapped around me like a warm blanket of solitude. Yet, as I stood there with that text message illuminating my phone, the familiar ache of longing washed over me. Always the backup option. It wasn't only Kira, it was every woman I had ever loved. In the tapestry of my past, each thread represents a relationship that unraveled, often with the same refrain echoing in my ears. I was too intense, too invested, or just not enough of something they sought. In the quest for something elusive, the journey unfolded in a way that felt all too familiar. Encounters blossomed, often sparked by the rhythm of the workplace or shared acquaintances, and I found myself hoping that perhaps this time would unfold in a new way. I would attentively note their likes and dislikes, their emotions, their routines, and I would weave my existence around theirs. I would transform into the ideal partner, an understanding companion, the woman who always gave space. And inevitably, they would discover another, someone who they didn't exert much effort, yet there was a presence that made them feel empowered, as if they were the ones making the decisions instead of being selected. Suddenly, my wife's phone vibrated once more. In that fleeting moment, a flicker of hope danced within me. Yet it was merely the light of day. An email regarding Monday's faculty meeting awaited my attention. I placed the phone aside and strolled into my bedroom, where I had arranged an array of outfits for the weekend, each chosen with meticulous care to achieve the ideal harmony of laid-back and charming. They appeared absurd at this moment, outfits for a performance that never took place. The getaway to the cabin has been our cherished tradition since our days in graduate school. Kira and I would retreat to her family's cabin, nestled in the mountains, stepping away from the digital world and the weight of obligations, for 2 days filled with trails, laughter, and the warmth of good wine. The adventure awaits. Found myself immersed in profound discussions that seemed to emerge only in the absence of the hustle and bustle of everyday life. It was that special weekend each year when it was as if the air around me had transformed, allowing me to truly exist without the weight of expectations. I found myself pondering the choice between unpacking my belongings or simply letting the moment linger. Put everything on hold until Monday. The sudden ring of the doorbell jolted me from my thoughts. Found myself caught in a web of self-pity, my eyes drifting to the clock. It was 7:30 on a Friday evening. I was caught off guard, not anticipating a visitor. Peering through the peephole, I spotted a familiar silhouette, one I hadn't exchanged words with in what felt like ages. It was Celeste, stood on my doorstep, a bottle of wine in hand, her expression suggesting she'd prefer to be anywhere but here. Even through the warped glass, I noticed the tightness in her shoulders. The way she constantly moved her weight from one foot to the other told a story of unease. As I swung the door wide, her presence washed over me, an undeniable force that left me momentarily breathless. Celeste had always been beautiful, yet there was an unmistakable change in her. Her blonde hair cascaded longer than I recalled, flowing in, gentle breeze that danced around her. The soft gray cardigan draped elegantly, enhancing the vibrant green of her eyes. And there was a vulnerability in her tone that struck me deeply. "Sloane," she whispered, her voice holding with a slight tremor in my voice. I ventured to speak. "I hope I'm not interrupting anything." "Not at all," came the reassuring reply. As I stepped aside to let her in, I couldn't help but recall Kira mentioning the work. In a moment of urgency, Celeste's expression grew tense. Her lips pressed together as she grasped the wine bottle firmly in her hand. I presented a gesture of goodwill. "I understand this might not be what you wish to confront at this moment." I pointed towards in the cozy confines of my living room. My thoughts were a whirlwind. Celeste had been a part of my life for 5 years, yet our encounters had always been fleeting and, with grace and charm, she was Kira's mother, the accomplished artist residing in the sophisticated home on Queen Street, a woman of remarkable talent and poise. She had appeared to have it all under control, a life perfectly orchestrated, until everything came crashing down 6 months ago. "I heard about the divorce," I remarked, with great caution. "We found our places." On my couch, "I apologize." A spark of something danced in the air. Across her face danced a blend of anguish and solace. "Thank you." Once upon a time, there was a moment that marked the beginning of an adventure. Complicated. She glanced around my apartment, her eyes scanning the bookshelves and the scattered research papers, scattered across my coffee table, the collection of sea glass I'd arranged on the windowsill. "Kira shared tales of your plans for the cabin lingered in the air. Was she the one who sent you to see how I was holding up?" I found it hard to shake off the bitterness that clung to me. Drained of my voice, ensure that I remain resilient in the face of her departure. Celeste's laughter pierced the air, catching everyone off guard. Little does she know, I'm right here, hidden from her view. She turned to face me completely, and I caught a hint of her fragrance. It was something delicate and luxurious that stirred my stomach. With anticipation, I approached with an idea that could seem outlandish. I paused. Every moment felt charged, the distance palpable on the couch, her fingers tapping a rhythm against her thigh. "Don't let the cabin go to waste." In a flurry of excitement, she exclaimed, "Let me join you instead." The proposal struck me with the force of a thunderclap. "Excuse me, what?" "I'm aware of how it may come across. I understand we hardly know one another, and I understand this might not be what you desire. Yet I find myself losing my sanity just sitting here, in that vacant dwelling. Anticipation has been building for months. Why should we let ourselves be unhappy?" I gazed at her, hoping to find a hint that this was all just a prank. "Celeste, you can't be serious." Comprehension dawns. This journey is more than a mere getaway. It's a tangled web of emotions. Everything's complicated, she said, leaning forward slightly, her eyes reflecting a depth of understanding. "That's what I'm learning. I spent 20 years trying to keep it all uncomplicated and secure. And see where it led me." Her voice faded to nearly a hush. "I must hold on to this memory." Imagine the sensation of taking a deep breath after a long time, the air filling your lungs with a sense of renewal. You yearn for that escape, a weekend to unwind and recharge. Perhaps we can make it happen. We supported one another. In her gaze, I saw a fragility that tugged at my heart. This was Celeste, the woman. She was a figure of grace and allure, effortlessly gliding through the world of refined dinner parties and art exhibitions, as if it were her destined realm. Yet, the figure on my couch appeared delicate, as if she could break apart with the slightest misstep in my words. I can picture it, I said, even as my mind began to wander. Just 2 days in the mountains with Celeste, escaping from it all that felt like home, wrapped in comfort. It was a notion that sent shivers down my spine, a whisper of dread that lingered in the air, leaving me to wonder if it was the most foolish thought to ever cross my mind, or a chilling adventure waiting to unfold. What haunts your thoughts? Has she been asked? And the inquiry came at me with such clarity, so out of the blue, that I sensed my barriers crumbling. Shatter, all of it. I confessed, there's a lingering fear within me, a shadow that whispers of desires just out of reach. A shadow of worry looms over me, whispering tales of potential letdowns. As the weekend approached, a sense of dread settled in my heart. The thought of being with someone who would inevitably bring back memories I wasn't ready to face filled me with apprehension. The reasons behind my inclination for solitude? Celeste nodded slowly, her gaze reflecting the weight of my honesty. She had finally uncovered a truth she had long sensed in her heart. Imagine a moment where I share with you my own fears, the very same ones that haunt us both. We lingered in quietude for, in that instant, the heaviness of truth lingered in the air, binding us together. At long last, I listened to my own voice. When will we set off? Tomorrow morning. At dawn, her eyes sparkled with an echo of what could have been hope. I assure you, I will be easy to be around. I just need to escape this place. My gaze fell on the packed bag, lingering by the door, a silent reminder of my restless spirit. Once upon a time, in a world filled with endless possibilities, there was a singular being embarking on a journey of self-discovery and adventure. Envisioned a weekend cocooned in my flat, surrounded by stacks of papers, lost in the rhythm of grading while weaving a tapestry of make-believe. My expectations were met with satisfaction. I envisioned Celeste in her quiet home, likely sipping on wine and lost in thoughts about the twists and turns that had led her to this moment. All right, I murmured, the sound slipping out before I had a chance to hold it back. But I take the wheel. The smile that blossomed on her face was nothing short of radiant. Agreed. The journey to the cabin. It was a journey that stretched over 3 hours, navigating the serpentine paths of the mountains. Throughout the ride, I found myself acutely aware of Celeste's presence beside me, her essence weaving through the air like a delicate thread. The seat beside the driver, she slipped into her favorite jeans and a soft cream sweater, her hair neatly gathered in a ponytail that gave her a relaxed yet polished look. She appears to be much younger than her 48 years. She arrived with a thermos filled with steaming coffee and a playlist of tunes that were completely new to me. Yet, I discovered a newfound pleasure. In the beginning, our exchange was measured, filled with a sense of decorum, casual chatter that occupies the silence without disclosing anything of significance. As she inquired about my research, I discovered a part of myself, delving into the fascinating world of ocean current mapping, where every wave tells a story and each current dances with purpose. The complexities of this underwater ballet are nothing short of thrilling. As we uncover the secrets that lie beneath the surface, with every detail, we embark on an adventure that reveals the dynamic forces shaping our oceans, igniting a passion for exploration and discovery. She shared with me the tale of her latest adventure. A captivating series of sculptures emerged, exploring the delicate dance between memory and space, evoking a sense of beauty and intrigue. It was a moment that shattered the soul. Yet, as the journey unfolded, a change began to stir. Perhaps it was the solitude of the vehicle, or the manner in which the scenery beyond transformed into a realm of untamed beauty, becoming increasingly distant and untouched. Yet, the truth in our words began to shine brighter. She shared with me her tale of solitude. In the midst of her marriage, she often reflected on the years that had passed, feeling as though she was merely acting out the part of a wife and mother, never fully embracing the reality of it all, dwelling within it. As I opened up, I revealed my own battles with forming connections, the recurring theme of my heart being drawn to women who were bound by ties to another or a different pursuit. It felt like the right choice, I admitted, taken aback by my own honesty. Since they're out of reach, I find it hard to feel any pain. Disappointment is all that remains, and it lingers like a shadow. Is unique? Could it be? With a fleeting look in my direction, she inquired, for it feels as though it carries a unique pain. In that moment, silence enveloped me, leaving me without a response. We reached the cabin right as the sun dipped below the horizon. The sky transformed into a canvas of vibrant orange and soft pink hues. The setting was precisely it was a memory of a charming 2-bedroom dwelling, embraced by majestic pines, featuring a delightful wraparound porch and windows that gazed upon the sprawling valley beneath. Kira's family had cherished it for generations, and it exuded a cozy, familiar warmth that spoke of countless memories, a venue that had witnessed an array of joyous occasions and memorable events. On the porch, I inhaled the crisp mountain air, feeling the serenity wrap around me like a warm blanket. With a look that spoke volumes of tranquility, "This is perfect," she said, and the way her voice danced through the air sent a thrill through me, igniting a flutter in my stomach. Within the cabin's embrace, warmth enveloped the space, where the rustic beams met the flickering glow of a stone fireplace, creating an inviting atmosphere that felt like home, and furnishings that embraced coziness above all else. It felt like a familiar journey, one I had embarked on countless times before. With Kira, I was well acquainted with every nook and cranny, from the extra blankets tucked away in the linen closet to the cherished collection of board games. In the cozy living room, a mountain of games awaited, each one a promise of adventure and excitement. Yet, the arrival of Celeste transformed everything. She glided through the space with an unexpected assurance. She glided her fingers over the back of the couch, her gaze wandering to the artwork that adorned the walls. It was as if the atmosphere shifted, and I found myself feeling like an outsider in a space that had always embraced me as its own. "The bedrooms await us upstairs," I said, lifting both our bags with a sense of adventure. "You are granted the opportunity to possess the master. It offers the finest perspective." "Don't be absurd," she replied, trailing behind me as we ascended the tight spiral of steps. "We're both grown-ups now. Let's reclaim the master bedroom just like we used to." "Friends," I paused at the top of the stairs, her words striking me with an unexpected force. The master bedroom lay ahead, shrouded in a heavy silence, the grand bed, spacious and inviting, accompanied by a cozy fireplace that crackled softly, creating an atmosphere of warmth and intimacy. The thought of the moments spent with Celeste, lying side by side in the same bed, and hearing the gentle rhythm of her breath left me feeling parched. "Are you really certain?" I inquired, striving to maintain a calm tone. "Unless it brings you uncomfortable," she said, her voice laced with an understanding that hinted she was all too familiar with the depths of that discomfort. "Create me," I gazed at her, a silhouette framed by the warm glow of the evening sun pouring through the windows. And this weekend was set to test the very limits I had carefully constructed around my heart. It was essential for me to demand separate rooms, a measure to uphold the safe distance I had meticulously cultivated throughout the years. In that moment, I found my own voice, responded, "Really? It's okay. We can split it." Her smile unfolded gradually, filled with understanding. There was a palpable change in the air, an unspoken connection that transcended mere friendship or convenience. As I set the bags down in the master bedroom, I noticed her gaze fixed on me, her expression a mysterious puzzle I couldn't decipher. It promises to be a weekend full of intrigue," she whispered gently. I gave a slight nod, my words caught in my throat. Beyond the horizon, the towering peak, the air outside was fresh and invigorating. Yet within the cabin, a palpable tension filled the space, with a feeling I was too afraid to acknowledge. What had begun in my flat, what had blossomed during the journey, was on the brink of transformation into something completely new. In that intimate bedroom with Celeste, I suddenly found myself in a situation I never anticipated. The morning sun gently poured through the cabin's windows, casting rectangles of gold gleaming across the polished hardwood floors. I stirred awake to the gentle sounds of Celeste, bustling about downstairs, the delicate clink of dishes echoing through the quiet morning, of delectable meals, and the enticing scent of coffee wafting up to the cozy loft bedroom. Once upon a time, in a world filled with endless possibilities, there existed a moment that sparked curiosity and wonder. It was a beginning, a chance to explore the unknown and embark on a journey that would unfold in the most unexpected ways. In that fleeting moment, I remained motionless, attuned to her every movement, grappling with the surreal reality of awakening beside her. The vast expanse, like a cherished figure in my life, I had hardly closed my eyes all night. With each movement Celeste made, in the quiet of the night, the gentle rise and fall of her breath beside me stirred something deep within. Each soft sigh, each subtle shift, wove a tapestry of emotions that danced in the stillness. A surge of energy coursed through my very being, igniting every nerve with a vibrant pulse. The grand bed that once appeared so vast when I proposed we share it, now felt incredibly close, infused with a tension that made my skin feel constricted. As I embarked on my journey downstairs, I stumbled upon Celeste at the kitchen counter, her hair cascading freely around her shoulders, adorned in a cozy embrace of fabric. She donned a jumper that wrapped her in warmth, radiating an air of effortless grace and charm. In a moment of serendipity, she stumbled upon the French press, and there was coffee ready, accompanied by the delightful pastries she had brought from the city. "Good morning," she greeted, her voice holding a gentle glow that sent butterflies dancing in my belly. "I trust I didn't disturb your slumber." "Not With a hint of deception, I took the mug she extended towards me. As our hands nearly touched in that fleeting moment, the moment we exchanged glances, I felt that familiar electric shock coursing through me, a sensation that had lingered ever since she first appeared at my door. As we settled into our morning routine, that feeling wrapped around us like a secret, unspoken connection. With unexpected simplicity, Celeste had gathered all the essentials for a delightful morning feast, and, in the cozy confines of the small kitchen, we swayed together in a rhythm that felt instinctive, as if the moments we had shared were enough to guide our steps. In a flurry of movement, she hurriedly made her way. As I prepared the toast, the eggs sizzled gently in the pan. As we found ourselves wrapped in conversation, the topic drifted to the weather, the breathtaking beauty of the mountains, and the way that, as the light danced through the trees, a sense of unease simmered just below the surface of the tranquil scene, hinting at something waiting to emerge. Once upon a time, in a place not so far away, there existed a realm filled with wonders and mysteries waiting to be uncovered. There were instances when our gazes would lock from across the kitchen, lingering for a heartbeat longer than necessary, and a simple brush of our hands would send a spark through the air, remain in the moment until it transformed into something completely different. The atmosphere surrounding us crackled with a blend of potential and peril, in equal parts. Once we finished our breakfast, we set out on an adventure to discover the enchanting surroundings of the cabin. The paths through the wilderness were clearly defined, and just the right amount of ease, ideal for a leisurely Saturday morning. As we strolled along, the dialogue started to unfold, venturing into realms beyond the familiar ground of small talk, and the landscape transformed into something deeply intimate. "I've been reflecting on your words from last night," Celeste remarked as we came to a halt perched high above, revealing a breathtaking panorama of the valley beneath. Once, there was a fear that lingered in the shadows, a fear of desiring what seemed forever out of reach. She caught my eye, and I couldn't help but notice how the crisp mountain air had painted her cheeks with a rosy hue. The way her eyes sparkled with a hint of mystery mirrored the heavens that stretch over us. What's the story behind it? For countless years, I held myself back, never allowing my true self to emerge. "Do you want anything?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. I believed that choice would keep me out of harm's way. In my mind, I envisioned a moment where I could simply exist, at peace with my circumstances. I believed that if I could simply embrace the part I was meant to fulfill, joy would follow. "Yet, you were not," I uttered, and it carried no hint of inquiry. With a gentle shake of her head, a playful smile danced at the edges of her lips. Once upon a time, I found myself taking the stage. Each day, with every exchange and every fleeting moment in my marriage, it felt as though I was delving into the words crafted by another's hand. I excelled in that. Without a doubt, once upon a time, there was a solitary figure, embarking on a journey filled with endless possibilities and adventures waiting to unfold. I managed to persuade not just others, but also myself, for a time, that I was embracing the existence I truly desired. As we pressed on, a path meandered through a grove of aspens, their leaves murmuring secrets carried by the gentle breeze. I discovered myself observing her. Her profile was striking, the elegant line of her jaw captivating, and the way her hands danced through the air as she spoke added a certain charm to her presence. She possessed a beauty that transcended the surface, captivating all who crossed her path. In her gaze, there was a spark of brilliance, a profound allure that captivated me, even though every alarm in my mind blared with urgency. "What has shifted?" I inquired. "Once upon a time, I embarked on a journey. Whispers of dreams danced in the air, her voice barely aflutter. The sound was faint, barely reaching my ears, and I found myself leaning in closer, trying to catch every whisper that danced on the edge of silence. Visions of an alternate existence, a reimagined self waiting to be discovered. Each morning, I would rise with a sense of being trapped. As if the air around me was thick and heavy, it felt as though I was trapped, suffocated by the weight of another's life, lost in the shadows of their being. As we emerged into another clearing, she halted in their tracks, pivoting to meet my gaze completely. "And what of your tale? When did you embark on your journey? Did you ever come to the moment of understanding that you were concealing something?" The question struck me with the force of a sudden impact. "I'm not sure if I'm really hiding," I confessed. It moved on its own for a moment, then came to a halt. The words slipped from my lips, heavy with the weight of untruth, even as I uttered them. "Is that so?" Her eyebrows arched in a playful dare. "From my vantage point, as you stand there, it appears that you've crafted a rather cozy confinement. Secure employment, a cozy home, and connections that never falter. It doesn't quite unfold as you hoped, as you find yourself drawn to those who aren't truly able to choose you in return." Her keen eye for detail, it felt like the ground had been ripped from beneath me, leaving nothing but a void of despair. It was as if she had peeled away the layers I had built around myself, revealing the raw truth beneath. Throughout the passage of time, Perhaps that's simply the essence of my being, I murmured, sensing the fragility in my unique expression. Or perhaps that's the identity you've chosen for yourself, as it spares you the challenge of true vulnerability, she remarked. As the distance between them shrank, anticipation hung in the air. I see the clues. Sloan, it takes one to know one. We trekked. As we made our way back to the cabin, a serene quiet enveloped us, each of us adrift in our own reflections. The sun began to rise higher in the sky, casting a gentle warmth over the landscape. As we finally stepped onto the porch, the warmth of the day lingered, and we both craved the refreshing chill of cold drinks and the comforting embrace of the shaded deck. Just as the evening began to unfold, as we came together in the kitchen, the atmosphere was filled with a sense of camaraderie. We moved effortlessly, chopping and stirring, creating a delightful meal that brought us closer in unexpected ways. Celeste arrived with a bottle of wine in hand from her personal collection. We began to cook, and as the aromas filled the air, we uncorked a bottle of something rich and complex that set my words free and wrapped the world in a gentle embrace. As we nestled into the couch, I leaned in and asked, "What's the story behind your art?" As we gathered around the table, the warm glow of the fireplace flickered gently, casting a cozy ambiance that wrapped us in its embrace. Kira shared that you have something exciting in the works. Celeste's visage illuminated in a manner that was entirely new to me. "It's difficult to put into words," she murmured, curling. She tucked her legs beneath her. "I'm delving into the journey of change, of letting go of what no longer serves me. The end of my marriage compelled me to face the true essence of my being, hidden beneath the various masks I've worn. That evokes a sense of dread." I spoke those words with conviction. She nodded in agreement, feeling the weight of the truth, yet a sense of freedom washed over her. In a moment of revelation, I find myself creating art that resonates deeply with my true self, rather than the version I believed I was meant to portray. Once upon a time, in a quaint little vineyard, there was a bottle of wine that held secrets of the earth and sun. Each sip told a story of the grapes that danced in the breeze, kissed by the morning dew, and caressed by the golden rays of the afternoon sun. It was a potion of joy, a liquid melody that brought people together, igniting laughter and weaving memories under the starlit sky. It was stirring something deep within me, prompting the question, who are you truly? Beneath the surface, every single roll, she sat in silence, her gaze fixed on the flickering flames, lost in thought. Once upon a time, there was a girl who, at last, she found her voice, though it emerged as a mere whisper, delicate and soft. There was a time when I found myself lost in a sea of doubts, pondering the very essence of everything around me, my union, in the journey of self-discovery, I found myself at a crossroads, navigating the intricate paths of my identity and the essence of who I am. At 48, I find myself on a journey of discovery, finally beginning to unravel the mysteries of what truly resonates with me. Desire. The essence of desire crackled in the atmosphere, charged and electric. As it lingered between us, I experienced, my heart raced, and I had to remind myself to breathe evenly. "Have you ever shared a moment with a woman?" I inquired. A question slipped away before I could catch it. As she glanced my way, the flickering flames danced in her eyes, casting a warm glow that seemed to tell a story of its own. Not at this moment. Yet I found myself reflecting on it far more than I ever intended while I was married. Once upon a time, there was a girl who hesitated for a moment, then continued. "Have you ever truly understood the depths of your own being?" In the midst of my college journey, a moment of clarity washed over me, and I felt a wave of gratitude for the simpler question that had come my way. Yet, I've always struggled with matters of the heart. It feels like I'm constantly drawn to those who aren't meant for me. "Perhaps you simply haven't encountered the one who truly understands," she said, and in her voice, there was a spark that sent shivers down my spine. "Perhaps," I murmured, keenly aware of the proximity we shared, how the gap between us on the couch had somehow seemed to diminish as we spoke. As the evening unfolded, our dialogue deepened, layers of ourselves slowly peeling away. Once upon a time, there was a group of adventurers who embarked on a journey together, whispered secrets of our hearts that had remained unspoken, whispers of aspirations we had kept hidden in the shadows of our hearts. The burden of existence, meeting the standards set by others, with every sip of wine and every whispered secret, the atmosphere surrounding us became denser, filled with energy. "I have a confession," Celeste said, her voice trembling with anticipation. Her voice carried a hint of warmth, softened by the evening's indulgence. "I didn't propose this journey merely out of loneliness." "What are you getting at?" I inquired. Yet, a part of me trembled at the thought of what the response might reveal. As she spoke, her gaze locked onto mine, a spark of connection igniting between us. "You've been on my mind," she confessed, her voice soft yet filled with intensity. "Ever since the separation, as I began to ponder the very essence of my existence, thoughts of you have lingered in my mind. Once upon a time, There was a path that beckoned to those who dared to wander. It twisted and turned, revealing secrets and adventures at every bend. Each step taken was a story waiting to unfold, leading to unexpected encounters and unforgettable moments. The journey was as important as the destination, filled with lessons learned and memories made along the way. As you gaze upon the world, your fervor for your craft shines through, igniting a spark within me during our conversations. My heart was a fluttering bird, caught in the web of emotions, longing for freedom and connection. It throbbed with such intensity, I was convinced she could sense it. "Celeste, I have a feeling this might not end well. What's holding us back?" she inquired, leaning in closer, nearer. "Is it because I am Kira's mother? Is it because I have more years behind me than you do?" As I reflect on my journey, I've recently embarked on a new chapter in my life. "As you navigate the journey of self-discovery," I remarked, striving to maintain a sense of reason even amidst the chaos. Every fiber of my being urged me to bridge the gap that lay between us. Once upon a time, in a world filled with endless possibilities, there was a moment that sparked a journey. It began with a simple word, a connection that opened the door to adventures yet to unfold. The tale was just starting, and the characters were ready to embrace whatever came next. I find it challenging to be a part of someone else's trial. What if you are something more than just a test? With a gentle curiosity, she inquired, her hand extending to make contact. "My own? Imagine if you were the one to guide me on a journey of self-discovery, revealing the depths of my true self." The moment her skin brushed against mine, a surge of electricity coursed through me, and I sensed my determination beginning to fade away. She was so near that the scent of her perfume lingered in the air, while the flecks of gold danced in her green eyes, and the freckles sprinkled across her nose told stories of sunlit days. "Sloane," she whispered, her voice wrapping around my name like a gentle breeze, sending a shiver down my spine as we leaned closer together. With every heartbeat, the distance that once separated us begins to fade away. The gentle warmth of her breath enveloped me, could perceive the manner in which her lips, her gaze pierced through the air, a magnetic force that left me breathless and dizzy. And then, just when the clock was about to strike its final hour, I retracted. "I can't," I exclaimed, rising to my feet with a sudden rush of urgency. I accidentally toppled a delicate vessel, filled with the rich hues of fermented grapes, awaits the gentle touch of anticipation. The crimson fluid pooled on the coffee table, reminiscent of a dark omen, and I gazed at it, frozen in dread. "Sloane, hold on." Celeste extended her hand towards me, but I found myself retreating, a sense of urgency propelling me backward. "I apologize," whispered, my voice trembling. The weight of the world felt heavy on my chest, and all I craved was a breath of fresh air to clear my mind. I dashed into the bedroom. My heart raced, and my hands shook with anticipation. The sounds of Celeste bustling about echoed from downstairs. As the crimson liquid pooled on the floor, I took a moment to breathe, the quiet act of tidying allowing me to gather my thoughts. Yet, I found myself unable to gather my thoughts. My mind was a whirlwind of thoughts, swirling and dancing like leaves caught in a gentle breeze. It was a moment that hung in the air, a breath away from a decision that could alter the course of our lives forever. As she ascended the stairs, I found myself stretched out, waiting. As I lay on my side of the bed, my gaze fixed on the wall, I focused on steadying my breath. She glided silently through the space. As I prepared to settle in for the night, each subtle shift in my surroundings resonated within me, as if every motion was a gentle caress. "I apologize if I was too forceful," she expressed. Gently, she nestled beneath the blankets. "I never intended to put you in an awkward position." "You didn't?" I replied. The moment lingers, unyielding and steadfast. That's the issue. We found ourselves enveloped in the shadows. In the stillness of the night, we lay side by side, each of us feigning slumber, yet acutely attuned to the subtle shifts and breaths of the other. The air was thick with unspoken thoughts, a delicate dance of awareness between us. The bed seemed to stretch endlessly, a vast expanse inviting dreams and whispers of the night, and small yet significant. In that moment, I was captivated, hanging on to each breath, each subtle shift she made. There was a longing within me to roll over and meet her gaze, ready to complete the moment we had begun downstairs. Yet, a deep fear gripped me at the thought of what that might bring. Unkind, filled with a deep fear of longing for something so intensely that I could almost feel it lingering in the atmosphere surrounding us. Instead, I found myself lying there in the stillness of the night. I found myself enveloped in shadows, attuned to the rhythm of her breath, grappling with the thought that I might be on the brink of a monumental error. As the sun began to rise on a tranquil Sunday morning, the world slowly awakened, casting a gentle glow over everything it touched, came in with a clumsiness that enveloped the cabin like a thick mist. We danced around one another with caution. Once upon a time, there was a conversation that unfolded like a tapestry of thoughts and ideas, weaving together the voices of those who shared their stories. Each word danced in the air, creating a melody of connection and understanding. As they explored the depths of their minds and hearts, it was a moment where time seemed to stand still, and the world outside faded away, leaving only the magic of their exchange, transformed into courteous remarks regarding the climate and intentions for the morning meal. On the day before, a comfortable closeness had blossomed, was substituted with a focus that infused each encounter with a weight of unsaid significance. I immersed myself in the routine of everyday chores, scrubbing the dishes with. In the midst of preparing for an adventure, one finds themselves meticulously sorting through every piece of hiking gear. Each item, from sturdy boots to the smallest carabiner, is examined with care, ensuring that nothing is overlooked. The excitement builds as the backpack takes shape, filled with essentials and a few luxuries, all arranged just so. It's a ritual, a dance of preparation that transforms the mundane into something extraordinary. Nothing was required to escape the heaviness of Celeste's presence. She appeared to grasp my desire for space, immersing herself in her own pursuits. Sketching in a small, she settled by the window, her notebook in hand, lost in the world of words. Yet, even with her meticulous dance of evasion, I found myself unable to resist the urge to take. She catches a fleeting look from him. As the dawn broke, the sunlight danced upon the golden strands of her hair, while her hands moved with an elegance that captivated all who beheld her. As she flipped through the pages, a delicate crease formed between her brows, a sign of her deep focus. Each moment lingered in my mind, etched with an intensity that was hard to shake off. As the afternoon sun dipped lower in the sky, a palpable tension hung in the air. The situation was reaching a breaking point. We set out on a walk, but the air between us felt heavy, filled with awkward pauses and unspoken words that loomed between us like a vast chasm. Upon our return to the cabin, I proposed that we take a little time for ourselves, asserting that I had to immerse myself in work-related reading. Of course, Celeste said, her voice cautiously balanced. Outside, I'll dive into my sketches, letting the world inspire my creativity. I observed her find her place. She stepped onto the porch with her notebook in hand, a sudden pang of emotion washing over her, perhaps a hint of regret lingering in the air. This wasn't the way I had envisioned. I envisioned our weekend unfolding, yet I found myself at a loss for how to close the distance that had emerged between us without bringing it to light. What was on the brink of unfolding? As the shadows lengthened and the hour grew late, a chill crept into the air, heralding the arrival of a fateful night. Gloomy shadows loomed overhead, had been accumulating all day, and as we stepped inside for dinner, the first heavy raindrops began to fall, striking the glass panes. The long-anticipated storm was finally making its presence known, dark clouds swirling ominously in the sky. Once upon a time, there was a single dot, small yet significant, waiting to tell its story. Once upon a time, we gathered together to create a humble feast. Within the context of relationships, in the stillness, a hush enveloped the world. In the cozy confines of the small kitchen, we moved like dancers, each step and gesture attuned to the other, a silent understanding weaving between us as our fingers grazed while reaching for the same dish. A spark ignited within me, sending a jolt of electricity racing up my arm, and Celeste's breath caught in her throat, a silent acknowledgement that she had sensed it as well. Once the meal was finished, we gathered in the cozy living room. With the leftover wine from yesterday's gathering, the rain poured down with increasing intensity. The sound pounded relentlessly on the roof and windows, growing ever more intense with each passing moment. A flash of brilliance danced on the horizon, echoed by the distant growl of a storm. I adore storms, Celeste remarked, curling, perched on her side of the couch. They possess a certain authenticity. No, with sincerity, no reservations, I acknowledged, savoring a measured sip of wine and attempting. It's wise to take her words at face value. As the evening approached, the breeze began to stir. The trees danced and groaned, their movements filled with an unsettling whisper of foreboding. The cabin enveloped them in an unexpected embrace, its walls closing in, creating a sense of seclusion from the world beyond. The realm shrouded in veils of rain and shadows. We had been nestled in our seats for what felt like an eternity, when suddenly, the lights began to flicker. In a time long ago, twice. And then with a final stutter, it faded away, leaving behind an overwhelming darkness, pierced only by the fading glow of the fire, casting shadows in the dim room. I caught the quick gasp from Celeste, followed by the rustle of her shifting about in the shadows. The darkness enveloped us, I remarked, almost to myself, as I fumbled for my phone to utilize it as a beacon of light. My phone's dead, Celeste exclaimed, her voice echoing from the shadows. Nor the kitchen. I believed. I plugged it in, but it seems it didn't take. Is there any signal? I glanced at my phone, straining to see the faint glow of the screen. There are no restrictions. It seemed the tempest had silenced the connection. In a land where dreams touched the sky, there stood a magnificent tower, reaching high above the clouds, a beacon of hope and wonder. In the dim light cast by my phone, I watched as Celeste glided gracefully towards the flickering flames of the fireplace. "We need more wood on the porch," she declared, her voice carrying a hint of urgency. Earlier, I believe I caught a glimpse of flickering candles in the kitchen. We joined forces. As the night deepened, the flickering shadows danced around the room, urging one to gather kindling and seek out the hidden candles, each step taken with a gentle caution in the soft, muted glow. The flickering flames danced and swayed, gradually banishing the shadows that loomed around, crafting a cozy circle of warmth that enveloped the cabin in a comforting embrace. More personal than ever, as Celeste nestled into the couch, she spoke with a sense of ease. It feels warm and inviting." Her voice held a certain quality that drew my gaze to her with newfound intensity. In the flickering glow of the flames, her face held a mystery, yet the tightness in her gaze hinted at unspoken thoughts that lingered just beneath the surface. She put on a facade of calm, but deep down, the tension was palpable. "Are you all right?" I inquired. Once upon a time, there was a girl who found herself on a journey of discovery. In a stillness that enveloped the room, eyes fixated on the dancing flames, lost in thought. "There's something I need to share," she finally admitted. "Perhaps I possess." We overlooked the electric bill before our journey up here. My gaze was fixed upon her. "It seems the electric bill slipped through the cracks of your busy life." "Well," she said, a rosy hue spreading across her cheeks. In the glow of the flames, perhaps forgot is a bit too intense of a term. Perhaps I chose to overlook the payment on purpose. A realization dawned. I feel it like a sudden strike. "Did you have this all figured out? What about the power outage?" "Not the storm," she exclaimed with urgency. "It seems like fate smiled upon us at just the right moment." Indeed, it crossed my mind. It could be lovely to find a reason to share moments together, free from the noise of the outside world. In a world stripped of distractions, we found ourselves gathered around the warm glow of the fire, where the only sounds were the crackling flames and our laughter echoing into the night. Confusion swirled within me, a tempest of emotions battling for dominance, or captivated by her boldness. "Celeste, that's absolutely wild. Imagine a world where was there a crisis unfolding? She mentioned that there are neighbors just half a mile down the road, and the old phone still. It all comes together seamlessly." I took a moment to look into it. Her gaze met mine, a blend of rebellion and challenge dancing in her eyes. Part exposed, there was a longing in my heart for moments shared with you, Sloane. In the moment, yet lacking the power to escape or seek refuge behind our screens. The flames danced and flickered, releasing a shower of glowing embers into the night air. Up the chimney, outside, the storm had reached its crescendo, with rain pounding against the windows and the wind wailing through the night. In a world where the sun kissed the leaves and the wind whispered secrets through the branches, there stood majestic giants, their roots deep in the earth and their canopies reaching for the sky. Each tree had a story to tell, a history woven into the fabric of the forest, where life thrived in harmony and nature danced to its own rhythm. The planned power outage, paired with the sudden storm, wove together a tapestry of closeness, the solitude that filled me with dread. "I never thought you would go that far," I spoke. Yet, the fury I anticipated to surge within me remained absent. Yet, what unfolded was something entirely different. Once, there was a sensation that lingered in the air, a whisper of emotion that wrapped around the heart like a gentle breeze, teetering on the edge of appreciation. "Are you angry?" she inquired, her voice barely above a whisper. Once upon a time, there was a solitary figure who embarked on a journey filled with dreams and aspirations. Gazed at her in the glow of the fire, her hair cascading around her shoulders, her eyes shimmering with the flickering flames, and sensed my meticulously, the once mighty barriers began to fall apart. "I ought to be," I replied, "but I am not." In that moment, a light broke through, the first true smile I had witnessed from her throughout the day. "That's great," she replied. "I'm so cold, and I was really hoping you could help me find some warmth." The chill in the cabin was becoming unbearable, swiftly, without the warmth of electricity. As I stepped back, the chilly air revealed my breath in delicate wisps, dancing in the cold. Amidst the crackling fire, the warmth of the flames danced around, yet an unsettling chill lingered in the air, making the space feel eerily cold and drafty. Celeste found herself enveloping her form in a cozy throw blanket draped over the couch. Yet, I noticed her trembling form. "It might be a good idea for us to draw nearer to the fire," I exclaimed, as my rational mind battled with the frantic voice echoing in my head, cautioning me about how close I was to danger. In a moment of irresistible allure, we decided to shift the couch cushions onto the floor before the crackling fireplace. Crafting a cozy little nest, Celeste stumbled upon a trove of thick quilts hidden away in the linen closet, and together we enveloped ourselves in the comforting embrace of their warm layers, nestled together in a space that felt just right. radiating comfort without crossing the cue. The closeness of the moment enveloped them, creating an atmosphere thick with emotion. Once upon a time, in a small circle of firelight, the storm raged outside, isolating them from the rest of the world. It felt as if we were the last souls in a vast universe. With each subtle shift, with every inhalation, each look carried a weight, bursting with meaning. "Share with me a secret you've kept hidden away." "Anyone," Celeste whispered, her voice barely rising above the flickering glow. "That's a risky path," I replied, the warmth of the wine swirling in my thoughts. Isolation was driving me to the edge. What if I share a secret that transforms your perception of me? What happens if you choose not to? "Once upon a time, there was a girl who," retorted. "What if you hide all your truths deep inside and live the rest?" Have you ever found yourself reflecting on the moments that slipped away, pondering the paths not taken, all because courage eluded you in the face of truth? I gazed into the flickering flames, observing the flames twirl and sway, casting shadows that flicker like our hearts. "In your presence, I discover a vitality I've never known before." The words slipped out before I could catch them. And that fills me with dread because uncertainty washed over me as I grappled with that feeling. When our eyes finally met, I found her gaze fixed on me, filled with an intensity that sent shivers down my spine. That took my breath away. "I've never encountered someone who inspires me to be bolder," she said. "You inspire me to stop hiding behind the person I thought I was supposed to be." The air around us felt charged, as if the distance that once separated us was fading away. Even though neither of us moved, the air around us, the warmth enveloped me, a gentle reminder of her presence, while the delicate fragrance danced in the atmosphere, intertwining with the moment we shared. As the wood smoke curled into the night air, she leaned closer, her voice a mere whisper. Some storms, the whispers of the breeze beckoned me, urging me to surrender to their embrace. In an instant, before reason could take hold, I found myself swept away. I reached out and took her hand, and in that moment, the connection sparked like a bolt of lightning, sending a jolt through me. Waves danced along my arm, sending a shiver straight to my heart. Her fingers were icy at first, but they began to warm beneath my touch. And when she squeezed my hand in response, and in that moment, I felt something deep within me shatter. "Celeste." I inhaled deeply, and her name lingered on my tongue like a sacred chant. She moved nearer, just within reach, allowing me to catch the glimmers of gold in her green eyes. One could count the freckles scattered across her nose. The firelight danced upon her skin, and in hues of amber and rose, she radiated a beauty that stirred something deep within me, a sweet ache in my chest. "Since the very instant I arrived at your doorstep, this has been on my mind," she confessed, her other hand gently brushing against my cheek. "I've been pondering the sensation of our lips meeting." I leaned into her caress, my gaze fluttering shut for just a heartbeat. When I opened them again, she was right there, so near that I could sense her presence. Breath against my lips. "We can't," I whispered, even as every fiber of my being called out for me to bridge the gap that separated us. "What's stopping me?" she inquired, her fingers gliding softly along my cheekbone. "Because you are Kira's mother." Because, in the aftermath of a significant chapter closing, you find yourself navigating the new landscape of life, where the echoes of the past linger and the promise of fresh beginnings awaits. "I just can't seem to figure out how to become what you desire." The confession spilt forth in a hurried breath, all the shadows of doubt and worry I had been holding on to since she stepped into my world. "What if I don't need you to be? Is there anything beyond who you are?" she asked, her forehead nearly brushing against mine. "What if this is precisely what I need? Exactly what we both need." The fire crackled behind us, sending shadows dancing across the walls. Outside, the storm howled outside, yet within our cozy haven, time felt like it had come to a standstill. I found myself leaning in closer, towards her, pulled by an irresistible force, more powerful than gravity, more compelling than logic. The moment hit me like a sudden storm, pulling me away from the warmth of connection. I recoiled. The absence of the touch lingered, leaving me with a chill and a heaviness in my heart. "I can't," I whispered, desperately trying to create space between us. "I'm sorry, but I can't bear this." The pain that flickered in her eyes struck me like a dagger to the heart, yet she swiftly concealed it with, in a moment of clarity, she spoke, her tone measured and calm. "I realize now that I shouldn't have made any assumptions. It's not that I don't want to," I said, my voice tinged with urgency, hoping she could grasp the depth of my feelings. "I desire it so deeply, and that, than anything else." With a nod, she tightened the blanket around herself, wrapped securely in her own embrace. "I see," she replied, yet the warmth had faded away. Her voice had transformed, giving way to the measured courtesy that had marked the beginning of our day, leaving us in a quiet stillness thereafter. Though we stand close, an immense chasm stretches between us, a silent testament to the distance that words cannot bridge. In the chill of the night, a small circle of firelight flickered, casting shadows that danced around the darkness. I longed to extend my hand towards her once more, to express my regrets, to share the reasons behind my actions. A swirling mix of trepidation and longing held me captive, rendering me immobile. Instead, I gazed into the flickering flames, battling the urge to imagine the way her hand nestled perfectly within mine, how right it had felt to be so near to her, how deeply I was feeling the weight of my decision. I can't help but wish I had stayed closer. Outside, the tempest howled with unrelenting fury. Yet, the true tempest was the one brewing within. The cabin, filled with a silent yearning and the heaviness of a moment that could never be undone. As the sun peeked over the horizon, the dawn of a new week began to unfold. Gray and heavy, the storm had moved on, yet it lingered in the air, a dampness that felt as though it were embedding itself into every corner of the world. As the first light of dawn crept through the curtains, I stirred from my slumber. Before the first light of dawn broke, I stirred from my restless slumber on the cold floor beside the fading embers. There, I discovered Celeste, already awake, her gaze fixed on the horizon, the window framed by the weeping trees, revealing a gaze that held secrets untold. The power returned in the stillness of the night, gently illuminating the cabin with a warm glow. The familiar hum of electricity filled the air, a sound that usually brought comfort. Yet everything felt far from ordinary. In the space that lingers, the air between us was heavy with things left unsaid, haunted by the echoes of what could have been, a moment I had managed to hold back. Excellent. As the sun began to rise, I whispered softly, "Good morning." In an effort to avoid startling her, she pivoted away from the window, and for just a fleeting moment, I glimpsed something unrefined and genuine, and a flicker of uncertainty danced in her eyes before she swiftly concealed it with a courteous smile. Once the sun began to rise, a new day unfolded. As the clouds drifted away, the calm returned. Indeed, I busied myself with folding the blankets we had used. It might be time for us to make our way back. I've got work waiting for me in the morning. Once upon a time, a truth was whispered. But beneath the surface, shadows danced, revealing a hidden deception. There were no demands pulling me away, no compelling need to venture out, save for the overwhelming urge to break free from the charged atmosphere that had enveloped us. The cabin was a tight space, brimming with unspoken dreams and lingering sorrows. Celeste nodded, yet I could sense an undercurrent of tension in the way her shoulders were poised. Absolutely, I'll gather my belongings. We embarked on a new journey. They moved in close proximity, yet there was an unspoken barrier between them, a delicate dance of avoidance. What once flowed with depth and meaning has now become a mere exchange of arrangements and polite smiles. With a burst of energy, I dove headfirst into the cleaning, scrubbing the dishes with an intensity that seemed almost excessive, making sure time and again that we hadn't missed a spot, left something in the shadows, a way to sidestep her gaze. To escape the heaviness of it all, whispers linger in the air, secrets held close to the heart. As I packed our bags into the car, an unmistakable tension hung in the air, and I sensed Celeste's unease intensifying. She began to speak, but then paused, holding back her words. With a sense of urgency, her hands danced through the cabin, exploring every corner one final time. "Sloan," she whispered, at last, as I completed a last sweep of the kitchen. "It's time for a conversation. Once upon a time, what is happening?" I inquired, even though we were both fully aware of what had transpired the night before. Once upon a time, there was a tale waiting to be told, a journey filled with wonder and discovery. It beckoned to those who sought to know more, to delve into the depths of its essence and uncover the secrets it held. This is the beginning of a story that promises to enchant and inspire, inviting all to join in the adventure that lies ahead. What unfolded, what was on the brink of unfolding? As she drew nearer, the enchanting scent of her perfume enveloped me, the faint aroma that lingered. It was a whirlwind of chaos that consumed my entire weekend. We cannot simply act as if it never took place. Silence enveloped the scene, a void where words dared not tread. In the stillness, a sense of anticipation lingered, as if the universe held its breath, waiting for a spark to ignite the narrative. Yet, in that moment, there was simply nothing, an empty canvas, poised for the brush of imagination to create something extraordinary. "What transpired?" I remarked, my tone cutting through the air more sharply than I had meant it to. "We found ourselves shivering. We wrapped ourselves in cozy blankets, and soon, the world faded away as we drifted into a peaceful slumber. And so, that concludes the tale." Her gaze was electric, a silent story unfolding in the depths of her eyes. I felt a mix of frustration and hurt swirling within me. Is that truly the memory you wish to hold on to? What adventures await us this weekend? I wish to cherish it as a beautiful moment shared with a friend. I expressed, the words lingering like ash upon my tongue. It's as simple as that. "Companion," she echoed softly, and in her voice, There lingered a hint of peril. Is that truly who we are? Sloane. Companions. I averted my gaze from her, overwhelmed by the depth of emotion reflected in her eyes. What more could we possibly become? I don't know, she said, her voice lifting with uncertainty. I'm on a quest to uncover the answers, ever since that Friday night when I arrived at the entrance to your world. With a decisive motion, I snatched my jacket from the hook and declared, "You can stop trying now." By the door, where everything is clear and simple. In the midst of a storm, you find yourself navigating the turbulent waters of life after a significant change. And, in the midst of uncertainty, your heart wanders, searching for clarity in the shadows of desire. However, I refuse to be your test subject. What if we tried something new? The sound echoed, sharp and sudden, cutting through the air like a thunderclap. Do you really believe this is what it seems? I summoned my will to gaze into her eyes, pushing aside the ache I recognized within them. Is it not? Once upon a time, you embarked on a journey of love and commitment. For 2 decades, a journey shared with a man, and now, a wave of uncertainty washes over you, making you ponder the depths of your desires. I bring ease and simplicity to every situation. I find myself in a place of safety. I belong to Kira. Ah, my dear companion, it seems you are already familiar with who I am. But what unfolds when you discover that is this truly what you desire? Celeste held my gaze for what felt like an eternity, and I could sense a change stirring within her, an expression that resembled a storm brewing within. Are you curious about what this might be? Her voice dripped with danger as she spoke. In the stillness of the moment, a serene hush enveloped the surroundings, creating a peaceful atmosphere that whispered secrets of tranquility. Are you curious about the secrets that this weekend holds? A chill ran through me as her voice wrapped around the words, tightening my insides with an unsettling sense of foreboding. What are you saying? It was I who brought everything together. She uttered. A torrent of words spilt forth, cascading like a river in full flow. In the midst of darkness, with no light to guide me, my phone lay lifeless, a silent companion in the chaos. Kira has decided to cancel. Everything unfolded just as it was meant to. I sensed the warmth ebb away from my visage. What are you trying to say? So, there I was, reaching out to the electric company. And just like that, the power was restored, disconnected for the weekend. So there I was, switching off my phone and weaving a little tale about it being out of battery. Well, I had an idea for Kira, that her focus should be on that work project instead of your cabin trip. Once, in a quiet moment, her voice floated through the air like a gentle breeze, captivating all who heard it. Each word she spoke seemed to weave a spell, drawing listeners into a world of wonder and enchantment. It was a melody that lingered long after she had finished, echoing in the hearts of those fortunate enough to listen, grew in strength, becoming bolder with every revelation. Every detail was meticulously crafted by me. The sting of betrayal struck me as if I had been struck by a heavy hand. You played with my emotions. Once upon a time, there was a character who embarked on a journey filled with adventures and challenges. This character faced trials that tested their courage and resilience, ultimately leading to growth and discovery. Along the way, they encountered allies and adversaries, each playing a crucial role in shaping their path. The story unfolds with twists and turns, revealing the essence of their quest and the lessons learned. In the end, the character emerged transformed, carrying the wisdom gained from their experiences into the next chapter of their life. You twisted the truth around your own daughter. I forged a path, she declared. Stepping nearer, I opened the door for something genuine to unfold between us. Through deception, in that moment, I found myself shouting as all the chaos and dread of the weekend began to take shape into a tempest of fury. You lured me here, crafting moments where I felt exposed and alone, just with you. Yes, she said, her voice steady and clear. And in that moment, her straightforwardness ignited a fire within me, more maddening than any elaborate justification could have ever been. For 2 decades, I dedicated my life to the needs and desires of others. 2 decades of embodying the ideal partner, the ideal mother, the quintessential artist partner who silently yearns for her desires. I yearned for a weekend that was entirely my own, a time to embrace my desires and dreams. There is no us, I shouted. The moment the words left my lips, a wave of regret washed over me as I noticed her recoil. One cannot simply declare something suspicious and then twist the events to bring that suspicion to life. Unable to, she dared to inch closer until we were nearly intertwined, as if it felt like it was all going smoothly until fear took hold of you, and you fled. I stood my ground. In that moment, I embraced the weight of my choices, stepping into the role of someone who understands the importance of accountability. I stood as a shield for us, guarding against a choice that could haunt our hearts. Was it an error? The laughter carried a tinge of bitterness. Was that the gaze you cast upon me last night? The warmth of your hand intertwined with mine. As you leaned closer, it felt as if you were grasping for air, lost in a sea of emotions, and I was the very essence of air. Stop, I urged. though my words felt weak and uncertain. When was the last time you truly allowed yourself to desire something without feeling the need to say sorry for it? She challenged, her gaze fierce and intense. Once upon a time, when was the moment you took the leap for your desires? Rather than sitting back and hoping for someone to grant you the go-ahead? I just can't wrap my head around it, I exclaimed, my voice tinged with urgency. Imagine being the one who constantly yearns for something greater, who experiences a deep longing within. Who cares the most? Imagine the weight of a heart that has been shattered time and again by those who simply can't understand the depth of your feelings. They may never return the affection you offer so freely. You're right, she whispered, her voice taking on a gentler tone. I'm uncertain about what. It's a feeling I understand all too well, having spent 20 long years living in fear of desire itself. I understand what. Imagine waking up one day, only to discover that you've been playing a role in a story not your own, following a plot crafted by another. The realization hits you like a wave, leaving you to ponder the choices that led you here. Fear held you back from crafting your own tale. We stood there facing each other, both breathing hard, the weight of our emotions hanging thick in the air. A silent storm brewing between us, whispers of secrets lingered in the space that separated us. The rhythm of her heartbeat was visible, thrumming swiftly beneath the delicate skin of her throat. One could glimpse the path ahead. Her hands quivered ever so slightly, a subtle dance of nerves and anticipation. I wanted you, she whispered softly. Once upon a time, in a distant land, the instant our eyes met at Kira's graduation 5 years back, I felt an undeniable pull towards you. And that was the moment everything changed. It filled me with fear, caught in a web of expectations, believing I was on a path that was meant for me. For desiring you was like unveiling a truth that shattered the very foundations of my self-perception. It was not right. The revelation struck me with the force of a thunderclap. Half a decade of observing you from a distance during family gatherings, while casually inquiring with Kira about your life. In the stillness of the night, as shadows danced upon the walls, I found myself wide awake. Under the blanket of night, my thoughts drift to the warmth of your touch, the closeness we could share. Her voice floated softly, like a gentle breeze barely rustling the leaves. In the span of 5 years, I convinced myself it was all in my head, merely a flicker of curiosity, nothing more than a passing thought. I gazed at her, thoughts swirling in a chaotic dance. What held you back from speaking up? It was a time when I had taken vows, binding my heart to another, for I was filled with fear. Out of fear of shattering the bonds that held us together, I found myself paralyzed, caught in a web of uncertainty about my own existence, all that I had created. With each step, she drew nearer, so near that I could sense the warmth emanating from her form. Once upon a time, I was bound by vows, but now those ties have unraveled, and I'm weary of hiding in the shadows. Celeste, I whispered, and her name slipped from my lips like a gentle release. It seems a bit chaotic, she whispered softly, her fingers gently cradling my face as she leaned in closer. The moment feels all wrong. I realize I approached this whole situation in a certain way. It may not be right, yet I can't deny that my feelings for you are unlike anything I've ever experienced before. I felt the urge to distance myself, to retreat. We held onto the space that shielded us, a barrier woven from the threads of caution and care. Yet, her caress was soft and inviting, and when she gazed upon me with those, her emerald gaze shimmered with a mix of fragility and aspiration. And in that moment, I sensed my determination beginning to fade away. What is it that you seek? Dear traveler, the world is full of mysteries waiting to be uncovered. Each moment a new chapter in the grand tale of existence. What adventures lie ahead for you? Is this merely a reaction to the end of your marriage? I inquired. Every week, imagine waking up one day, a month later, only to discover that everything you experienced was merely a haze of confusion and solitude. What happens if I choose not to? With a swift response, she pushed back. What if this moment is the truest experience I've ever known? What if turning my back on this, turning away from you, would be the greatest regret of my existence? Just as I was about to respond, as thoughts raced through my mind, searching for any possible explanation for the impossibility of the moment, she leaned in and kissed me. It was bold and decisive, a stark contrast to the almost kiss that had lingered in the air. Beside the warm glow of the hearth, in a moment of sheer desperation, the gnawing hunger took hold. 5 years of hidden longing surged forth into the spark igniting as our lips met. As I drew nearer to her, I could feel myself dissolving into the moment, my fingers weaving through her hair, urging her to come even closer. As the walls I had carefully constructed began to crumble around me, as we finally separated, as we both caught our breath, she leaned in, resting her forehead gently against mine. Just feel, she murmured softly. I beg you, just this once, refrain from doing that. In that moment, I let go of all my thoughts. I embraced the sensation, allowing it to wash over me like a gentle tide. It was a revelation, a new beginning where my mind finally found peace. Once upon a time, in a world filled with endless possibilities, there lived a curious soul who embarked on a journey of self-discovery. This individual sought to uncover the mysteries of life, driven by an insatiable thirst for knowledge and adventure. Each day brought new experiences, weaving a tapestry of stories that would shape their destiny. With every step taken, the path unfolded, revealing the beauty and challenges that lay ahead. Ceased the careful scrutiny, the safeguarding, and the meticulous assessment of potential dangers. I found myself lost in the feeling of her lips against mine, her fingers weaving through my hair, the way she breathed my name as if it held a secret all its own, an invaluable treasure. In that cabin, we surrendered to each other, enveloped by the remnants of our carefully built barriers, and it unfolded in ways I had never envisioned. Yet it surpassed every dream I had quietly held within. In a world where emotions danced like fireflies in the night, Celeste embodied a beautiful contradiction. She radiated warmth and strength, yet her heart held a delicate fragility, making her both fierce and gentle in the same breath. And when she gazed at me afterward, her eyes glistening with tears. As I gazed into those eyes, an undeniable transformation stirred deep within my heart. As we found ourselves entwined in the warmth of the blankets on the cabin floor, as the dream faded, the world around her slowly reemerged, bringing with it the weight of truth and the pulse of existence. What unfolds now? How did we find ourselves returning to in a world where she embraced the role of Kira's mother, and I stood by as the devoted family friend? Our lives intertwined in a tapestry of shared moments and unspoken bonds. How did we find our way through the intricate maze of what we had? Is it really over? What thoughts are swirling in your mind? Celeste inquired gently, her fingers gently drawing designs upon my exposed skin. In my mind, this stands as the most breathtaking yet fearsome experience I've ever encountered. It unfolded before me, and I spoke the truth. And I stand at the edge of uncertainty, wondering what the next chapter holds. Once upon a time, there was a girl who found herself in a world of wonder. In the stillness, her gentle caress lingered on. Unwavering, she confessed, "I don't either." Yet, deep down, I feel a strong urge for this journey to continue beyond this moment. In that moment, I felt a deep desire to align with her, to assure her that together we would find a way forward, united as one. Yet, shadows of doubt began to slink back into my mind, murmuring the countless paths that could lead to disaster, the myriad ways my journey could come to an abrupt halt. Once more, feeling wounded and isolated, "Celeste," I began, but she hushed me with a soft brush of lips, tender and sweet. "Please, don't," she urged. "Let's not begin the process of erecting barriers once more. Not at this moment. In this fleeting instant, we stand together, savoring the stillness before the world rushes back in around us." I nodded, drawing her nearer, attempting to etch the sensation of her presence into my memory. With her nestled close, the fragrance of her skin enveloped me, while the afternoon sun cast golden glimmers through her hair. Yet, as I held her, I could feel the future pressing in around us, full of questions and complications, and the terrifying. In this fleeting moment, it seemed as if time stood still, yet the harsh light of reality loomed, threatening to unravel what felt like an eternity. The journey home. Arriving in Seattle was akin to waking from a vivid dream, only to find oneself confronted by the stark brightness of fluorescent lights. During the long, winding journey that stretched on for 3 hours, Celeste and I exchanged hardly a word. We wandered through the vast mountain landscape, each of us adrift in our own reveries, transformed into a landscape of endless neighborhoods and bustling streets. With each passing mile, the gap widened between us and the events that had unfolded at the cabin stood there, an enigma wrapped in mystery, its presence growing ever more dreamlike and unattainable. As I pulled up to her house in Queen, she stepped out of the car, and a moment lingered between us. She paused, taking a moment to gather her thoughts before stepping out of the car. "Sloan," she whispered, her fingers brushing against the doorframe. "Grasp. Shall we have a conversation about this? What unfolds next?" I held my gaze steady, gripping the steering wheel tightly. He couldn't bring himself to meet her gaze. "I need some time to think," I said, my voice trembling as doubt crept in, making me feel small. As my words hung in the air, she fell silent for a heartbeat, her gaze tracing the contours of my face. "All right," she replied at last, "but don't dwell on it for too long. Some opportunities are worth taking a chance on." As she vanished behind the doors of her home, I lingered in my car, captivated by the graceful exterior, lost in thought and reflection. The events that unfolded between us. The weekend unfolded as if it belonged to a different realm, filled with an intensity that was almost surreal. It's a wonder to experience the essence of authenticity. Yet, the faint trace of her fragrance in my vehicle and the gentle ache in my body were irrefutable evidence that it was, without a doubt, a genuine experience. With fierce determination, I immersed myself in my tasks. In the days that followed, for weeks, I found myself arriving at the lab before dawn and lingering long after sunset, immersing myself in the sea of data that surrounded me. In the realm of exploration and inquiry, the journey begins with the crafting of thoughtful proposals, each one a beacon guiding the way through the intricate landscape of knowledge. Here, ideas take flight, and the seeds of discovery are sown, waiting to blossom into profound insights. My colleagues remarked on my newfound commitment, and I allowed them to think it was an unwavering drive for success. Steering clear of the distractions posed by captivating green eyes and tender hands, Celeste reached out. In those early weeks, it happened on multiple occasions. I allowed each call to slip into the realm of voicemail. In the quiet solitude of my flat, I found myself immersed in her messages, savoring each word as they echoed in the stillness. Her voice carried a gentle caution. Honoring the limits I had set, she was clearly attempting to convey her point, yet I could sense the pain lurking beneath her carefully chosen words. I'm aware that you require some distance. In a single message, she conveyed her thoughts. Yet, I wish for you to understand that the moments we shared held a significance for me. It was anything but casual, and it was meant to be. Whenever you feel the moment is right, I'll be waiting for you. Yet the moment felt too soon to share words. I found myself unprepared to confront the consequences of our actions, the tangled web it would weave with. Kira, the thought lingers that perhaps I was indeed correct about being a mere experiment in her quest for self-discovery. It felt simpler to act as if the event had never occurred, to withdraw into the comforting embrace of my own solitude. In the span of 3 moons, drifted through this peculiar void, I steered clear of family gatherings where Celeste might be present, crafting excuses whenever. Kira proposed various group activities, yet her demeanor resembled that of someone evading the reality of their own existence. Once upon a time, in the realm of knowledge, a curious mind embarked on a quest for understanding. This journey was filled with exploration and discovery, as the seeker delved into the depths of information, uncovering secrets and insights along the way. Each finding was a stepping stone, leading to new questions and adventures in the vast landscape of inquiry. Endured. Amidst the long hours I toiled, my focus splintered by elusive memories that danced just out of reach. Kira caught on. Without a doubt, she began appearing at my flat unexpectedly, arriving with takeaway in hand and a barrage of probing questions about an ever-growing tendency to withdraw from the world. You look terrible, she remarked one Thursday evening, as she began to unpack the fragrant Thai food on my table. A small, inviting table where stories unfold over steaming cups and laughter fills the air. When was the last time you stepped away from the grind and embraced something beyond the daily hustle? All is well with me. I stood my ground, yet as I caught a fleeting reflection in the hallway mirror, I couldn't help but acknowledge the truth in her words. I had shed some pounds, dark circles loomed beneath my eyes, and my hair appeared as if it had been tousled by the winds of my own frustration, which I possessed. You're not okay, Kira remarked with a straightforwardness that cut through the air. You haven't been okay since that cabin trip. What unfolded during that time? Did you and my mom share some sort of experience of battle? The inquiry struck a nerve, and I could feel a flush creeping up my face. What makes you say that? It's just that her behavior has been as strange as yours. Hikira said, her gaze piercing into mine with an unsettling intensity. She's locked away in her studio all day. Hardly. She spends her days indulging in her art, crafting a series of sculptures hidden from the world. Yet, despite her creative pursuits, an air of unhappiness lingers between them, evident in their expressions. I focused intently on the task of opening containers of food, deliberately steering clear of her gaze. I don't know what you're talking about, Sloane said, glancing at Kira, whispered, her tone softening. You mean the world to me? There's a certain glimmer in your eyes that gives it away, a subtle shift in your voice that tells me all I need to know. Whatever transpired between you two, perhaps it's time to have a conversation about it, rather than acting as if it never occurred. Once upon a time, in a world filled with wonder, there existed a tale waiting to be told. The tremor in her voice nearly shattered my determination. I felt an overwhelming urge to share it all with her, to unveil the intricate web of a whirlwind of feelings and longing that had surged forth that weekend. But how could I possibly convey the truth that my heart had chosen her mother? How could I confess that I was filled with fear at the thought of chasing after something that seemed almost too perfect to exist? It's a tangled web, I remarked. At last, Kara fell silent, lost in her thoughts for a brief moment. In a moment that took everyone by surprise, she took an action that no one saw coming. Her laughter echoed through the air. What's so amusing? I inquired, feeling a sharp pang from her response. You two are truly remarkable. Fools, she remarked, her head shaking in disbelief. It's hard to fathom that you two are still pretending this is some kind of surprise. What do you mean? Kira fixed me with a gaze that was both piercing and curious, somewhat frustrated yet entertained. Sloane, I've been aware of my mom's truth for as long as I can remember. Once upon a time, in the halls of high school, perhaps even earlier than that, and I've always sensed that she held a special place in her heart for you ever since we tossed our caps in the air. As I gazed at her, thoughts swirled chaotically in my mind. Did you have any idea? Once upon a time, in a world filled with endless possibilities, there existed a moment that sparked curiosity and wonder. It was a simple word, yet it held the power to unlock countless tales waiting to be told. This word was the beginning of a journey, a whisper of adventure that beckoned the brave to explore the unknown. And so, the story unfolds. Of course, I was aware. Whenever you were near, a certain expression would cross her face, as if she were making an effort to conceal something. She gazed, unable to pull her eyes away. And you certainly didn't hold back, did you? Yet, she wore a ring of commitment. Once upon a time, in a world filled with endless possibilities, there was a singular being embarking on a journey of self-discovery and adventure. She offered a feeble resistance to a man who never held her heart. Kira shared that they shared laughter and memories, a bond that felt warm and familiar. Yet the spark that ignites true passion was always absent. She entered into the union with him, bound by the weight of expectation, for the sake of safety. Yet, I could sense the depths of her despair. I sensed that the earth trembled and swayed, as if it had a life of its own. Why was there never a word spoken? As it unfolds, it wasn't my story to tell, Kira whispered, her eyes reflecting a mix of regret and understanding. And so it was that I lingered, hoping one among you would find the courage to take action. The urgency of the situation dawned on me, each detail falling into alignment like a puzzle coming together. Once upon a time, there was a moment that slipped away, a fleeting chance that never came to be, encountered a sudden work crisis. Did you? Kira's smile radiated victory. Not at all. It was all a creation of my imagination. I thought that if I could bring you both together in a quiet moment. As the weekend approached, a sense of anticipation filled the air, whispering that perhaps this time, something magical would unfold. You orchestrated this, I declared, mirroring Celeste's sentiments from the cozy retreat. The two of you both played me like a pawn in your game. Once upon a time, there was a group of friends who embarked on an adventure together, opened a door to new possibilities. Kira made the necessary adjustments. The path you chose with that chance was yours alone to navigate. Once upon a time, there was a moment that changed everything. Considering the gloom that surrounds you both, it seems you found a way to turn things upside down. With my hands covering my face, I felt the weight of the world pressing down on me, consumed by the unexpected truth. Kira, we are speaking of your mother here. Absolutely, she declared with conviction. Once upon a time, in a world filled with endless possibilities, there was a tale waiting to be told. It began with a singular journey, one that would unfold in ways unimaginable. This story, rich with experiences and emotions, was destined to capture the hearts of many. A mother who is worthy of joy. My mother has held a deep affection for you after many years. The moment arrived when the courage to take action blossomed within. My mother, with tears that have stained her pillow night after night for the past 3 months, finds solace only in the quiet of the night, for the woman she adores is too afraid to embrace the possibility of something genuine. In a moment of vulnerability, Celeste's tears fell like rain, each drop a testament to her unspoken struggles. It pierced through me like a blade, leaving a deep ache in my heart. Her tears have been flowing. What did you do? What do you imagine would unfold? Kira inquired, her tone laced with fierce protectiveness. Once upon a time, there was a moment that sparked curiosity and wonder. Did you ever find yourself pondering the mysteries of life? Each question leads to a new adventure, a tale waiting to unfold. Do you really believe she would simply brush it aside and carry on? Sloane, you hold a special place in her heart as the only one she's ever shared this journey with. Apart from my dad, in a moment of clarity, she found the strength to break free from the chains of a marriage that had long suffocated her spirit. And it was you who inspired that brave decision. And then, in that moment, you simply vanished into thin air. Heavy shadows loomed over the heart, a weight that pressed down with relentless force. I had been consumed by the need to shield myself from the world, from the possibility of hurt, that I had overlooked the anguish I could be inflicting on Celeste. Fear gripped my heart. I confessed to what is happening, among all things, of sharing moments with someone who feels like a distant star, shining brightly beyond my reach. Once upon a time, in a world filled with endless possibilities, there existed a moment that sparked curiosity and wonder. It was a beginning, a whisper of what was to come, inviting all to embark on a journey of discovery, navigating through a journey of self-discovery, of shattering the bond we share, the ties that link us to your family. Once upon a time, in a world filled with endless possibilities, there existed a moment that sparked curiosity and wonder. It was the beginning of a tale waiting to unfold, where every detail held the promise of adventure and discovery. Desiring something with such intensity that its absence would shatter my very being, Kira sat in silence, her thoughts swirling like leaves in the autumn breeze. In that fleeting instant, When she finally found her words, they flowed softly like a whisper in the breeze. Have you ever paused to consider what might be tearing you apart at this very moment? Keeping a distance from her, in a world where shadows loom large, both of you find yourselves trapped in a web of despair. It's evident that there's a deep affection blossoming between you two. Yet, neither of you is willing to budge. There's a tale waiting to be told. But the world is rarely straightforward. Isn't it? I raised my voice in defiance. It truly is as straightforward as that. Kira whispered. Your heart is filled with love. She adores you. Time is fleeting, and there's no room for fear. Venture forth to Sloane. Reach out to her. Join forces and unravel this together rather than enduring the burden in solitude. Once Kira departed, I found myself alone in my flat, gazing at the wall, lost in contemplation of all her words. In a moment of unexpected clarity, the truth emerged, illuminating the shadows that had long concealed it. The revelation that she had been aware of her mother's true self and had even fostered our bond transformed everything. It signified I had never turned my back on our bond. It signified that the weekend hadn't unfolded with the unexpected twists I had imagined. Yet it signified that it wasn't a form of manipulation in a harsh way. As Saturday morning dawned, I found myself lost in thought, pondering the reasons behind it all, what I was compelled to undertake. For 3 long months, I found myself fleeing from the most genuine and fervent bond I had ever known. She had grown weary of living in fear. As I made my way to Celeste's house, my heart raced with anticipation. I stood at the door, my finger hovering over the doorbell, and when I finally pressed it, silence lingered in the air, a void where words should have been. The question hung, unanswered, like a whisper lost in the wind. The driveway lay bare, the absence of her car casting a shadow over the house, which stood silent and empty, an echo of what once was. I found myself in a moment of uncertainty, pondering my next move, when suddenly a neighbor appeared from the shadows, the neighboring dwelling. If you're on the hunt for Celeste, she's likely lost in her creative world at the studio, the elderly woman remarked with a warm smile. It seems like she's made that place her second home in recent times. Though I had never set foot in Celeste's art studio, I was aware that it resided within a hidden gem nestled in the heart of Georgetown. From the outside, the structure stood as a testament to raw functionality, its industrial facade exuding a sense of starkness that was both imposing and intriguing. As I stumbled upon her unit, I pushed open the heavy door, and a gasp escaped my lips. The room was alive with sculptures that were beyond anything I had ever observed. They held an essence that was both elusive and undeniably strong. Seizing, the dance of feeling captured in metal and earth. Some appeared to capture the essence of the wind and the flow of water. Some appeared as if they were lightning caught in a moment of stillness, while others resembled flames turned to shimmering jewels. Yet it was the collection along the distant wall that captivated my attention. Trails. The pieces unfolded before the eyes, a harmonious sequence of shapes that wove a narrative together. In the beginning, it was a figure of restraint, defined by its sharp angles and the tight embrace of closed curves. Yet, as the narrative unfolded, the shapes evolved into something more graceful, more expansive, until the concluding creation appeared to be suspended in a fleeting instant of a remarkable change unfolds. Each line stretched forth, pulsating with a fervent urgency. In my mind, it's a time of tempest and turmoil. Once upon a time, in a world filled with wonder, there lived a character named Celeste. Her journey was one of magic and discovery, where each moment unfolded like the pages of an enchanting tale. A voice echoed from behind, drawing my attention. I turned to find her framed in the doorway of a modest office space, her hands marked with clay, a testament to her craft, radiant even with the weariness reflected in her gaze. It's truly astonishing, I remarked, conveying it. They're all incredible. She stepped nearer, her gaze fixed on my face as if seeking to uncover the depths of my desires. What brings you to this place? Sloane, once upon a time, I found myself in a conversation. To Kira, once upon a time, I found myself in a conversation where she shared the tale of a work emergency that had unfolded. Once upon a time, there was a tale of 2 souls intertwined by the threads of time. It spoke of the years that had passed since their paths first crossed, and the moments they had shared, each one a precious gem in the tapestry of their lives. It was a story rich with memories, filled with laughter and whispers of secrets, where every detail mattered and every glance held meaning. Together, they journeyed through the chapters of their lives, each page turning with the weight of their shared experiences. Celeste felt a warm blush spread across her cheeks. It's unfortunate that she got involved. That was not her hidden truth to share. I'm glad she did, I said, moving in a little closer, feeling the weight of the moment. Foolish me. For 3 long months, I've been fleeing from the greatest gift life has given me, all because I let fear take the wheel. Imagine it might actually exist. "And now?" she inquired, her voice soft as a gentle breeze. "I still feel that fear creeping in," I confessed. "Yet, the thought of losing you terrifies me even more. Of navigating this journey hand in hand." The smile that blossomed on her face was like sunshine. "Are you certain? Because I'm feeling lost in this journey. The path of being in a relationship with a woman seems unclear, and I'm unsure how to find my way through it. It's a challenge I'm facing." At 48, we find ourselves navigating the intricate tapestry of our lives, seeking ways to weave them together. I echoed the sentiment, unsure of the path ahead, stretching out for her hands. Yet, deep down, I realize that I cannot achieve this without you. I understand these past 3 months have felt like a dark storm, leaving me with a profound emptiness I never wish to experience again. In that moment, she wrapped me in her embrace, offering a glimmer of warmth amidst the shadows. Then, in kissing her, it felt like returning to a place I had always belonged. When we finally pulled away, both, as tears streamed down our faces, she leaned in, resting her forehead gently against mine. "I love you," she murmured softly. "I've loved you for so long, it slipped my mind how it felt to be without the warmth of your affection." "I adore you as well," I replied, the words that shimmer with the essence of discovery and the allure of hope intertwined. Half a year had passed, and we found ourselves back at the cabin, side by side once more. In that moment, everything clicked into place. Yet the connection we shared pulsed with an undeniable intensity. As the flames danced and crackled, we gathered around the warmth, reminiscing about our final moments together. Under the stars, we envisioned our journey ahead, sharing a closeness that only comes from two souls committed to creating a life side by side. "Do you really believe that? Are you really ready for me to move in?" Celeste inquired, nestled against my side on the couch. "Do you truly feel prepared to trade your stunning home for my little flat?" I challenged, with determination in my heart. "I stand at the threshold, prepared to embark on a new adventure. I would sacrifice anything that stands in the way of me drifting off beside you each night," she declared, and the sheer truth of it all made my heart race as I watched the firelight dance across her face. I realized I'd finally stopped running from the tempest and discovered the art of twirling within it instead. We had embraced bravery instead of, in a world where shadows dance with uncertainty, a heart beats fiercely, choosing the warmth of love despite the lurking fear. It embraces the thrill of the unknown, casting aside the familiar embrace of solitude for the promise of connection and adventure. Outside, the air was crisp and biting, a chill that nipped at the skin. Yet within our cozy enclave of warmth and illumination, we gathered around, weaving tales of adventures yet to come, sharing our wildest dreams under the starlit sky, crafting a reality that once felt like a distant dream. "What occupies your mind?" Celeste inquired, her gentle touches meandering across my skin. "I find myself reflecting on the gratitude I feel for Kira's relentless matchmaking efforts," I exclaimed, bringing a smile to her face. "As I reflect on our journey, I can't help but feel a sense of gratitude for the chance we've been given to start anew, an opportunity for joy," she remarked. "What a fortunate twist of fate that brought us together." Once upon a time, there was a solitary figure who embarked on a journey of self-discovery. This individual, filled with dreams and aspirations, sought to uncover the mysteries of their own heart. With each step taken, the world unfolded in vibrant colors, revealing tales of adventure and wonder. The path ahead was uncertain, but the spirit of exploration ignited a fire within, guiding them towards the unknown. He drew her nearer, inhaling the fragrance of her hair, sensing the calm pulse of her heart beat against his. "Treasure." As I pondered, a warm feeling enveloped me, and I whispered, "My heart is filled with love for you." Oh, the thrill that courses through me, to dedicate every moment of my existence to revealing just how deeply I feel. The flames danced and flickered, casting shadows that played upon the walls, while the warmth enveloped the room like a comforting embrace, burst forth, sending a flurry of sparks dancing up the chimney and out into the night sky beyond the windows. Under the shimmering night sky, two women stood together, having finally discovered that occasionally, the most exquisite treasures in life are worth braving the tempest.